Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, we're embarking on a really profound journey. We're looking into a text that's, well, ancient, but feels incredibly relevant today. It's excerpts from Imam Ja'far al-Sadiq's Lantern of the Path. Now, he was a major figure in early Islamic thought, a real scholar, and his work offers deep spiritual guidance. We're zooming in on Chapter 6, called Enjoining Good and Forbidding Evil. Our mission really is to see what this wisdom says about guiding others and, maybe even more crucially, guiding ourselves with, integrity. You might think telling people what's right is simple, but this deep dive, it uncovers some surprising things, prerequisites, responsibilities. It gets deep.
It really does. It's a topic that, at its core, it's about influence, isn't it? And authenticity, integrity. What's so fascinating is that it's not just a list of do's and don'ts. Instead, it lays out this comprehensive spiritual and personal readiness that you absolutely need before you can genuinely help others improve. So yeah, we'll be looking at what it means to be truly ready to guide, and also critically, when maybe the wise thing is to step back, focus inward.
Okay, so let's unpack that. Enjoining good and forbidding evil. What does that really take? I mean, in its original context, sure, it's about moral leadership, society. But we can totally apply it today, right? Anytime we try to help or mentor or, influence people, what's the foundation we need to build first, according to this text? Well, the text immediately sets this incredibly high bar. It says you cannot properly do this duty, this guiding, unless you've hit a high degree of self-mastery. That's not just a suggestion, is it? It sounds like a non-negotiable.
Oh, absolutely not casual. It's talking about a complete internal transformation, nothing less. Before you guide others, it says you need to have thrown off their own anxieties, been purified of the evils and appetites of their own soul, defeated their inner Satan, and entered into the complete guardianship and protection of Allah.
Okay, those terms sound very spiritual. Can we break that down a bit? Like, what does that mean in relatable terms?
Yeah, definitely. So throwing off anxieties, that could mean finding real inner peace, right? Not being driven by your own worries. Purified of evils and appetites, that's about overcoming selfishness, bias, those harmful habits we all struggle with. And defeating the inner Satan, you could see that as conquering your ego, those destructive urges, the negative self-talk that kind of trips us up. And then guardianship of Allah points to connecting with a higher moral compass, acting selflessly from, a place of purpose. It's about embodying the good you want to promote, really living it, not just knowing it up here.
That's a powerful way to put it. It shifts it from something abstract to, well, the real internal battles we face. So, okay, if we haven't done that work, if our own inner garden is a mess, what happens if we still try to correct others? What does the text say the consequences are?
This is where it gets really stark, seriously. It warns that if you haven't reached that state, any attempt you make to correct someone else, it will ultimately stand as a proof against their own shortcomings. And the people you're trying to guide, they will not benefit from their words.
Wow. Okay, let that sink in. So if you're not walking the talk, your advice isn't just useless, it actually backfires. It highlights your own issues.
Exactly. It becomes evidence against your own integrity. Your efforts basically boomerang. Think about it. How often might we try to fix others, maybe with good intentions, but from a place where we haven't fixed ourselves?
Yeah, it really makes you question things. It sounds like authenticity is key.
Totally. And the Holy Quran actually hits this nail on the head. Chapter 2, verse 44 asks, basically, do you tell people to be good but forget yourselves even while you read the scripture? Have you no sense? The text we're looking at even calls someone who does this a traitor. It's like God himself is asking, are you demanding something from others that you rejected for yourself? It highlights that fundamental need for authenticity. Your guidance has to be rooted in your own transformation, otherwise. While it just doesn't land, it can even damage trust.
Okay, so this intense self-mastery first, that's clear. But it makes me wonder, does this mean we should just never try to help until we're, perfect?
Right.
Because perfection,
Yeah.
that's unlikely for most of us. The whole put your own oxygen mask on first idea. The text talks about this, right? There's a bit where someone asks Prophet Muhammad about another verse.
Yeah, exactly. It's Quran 5.105. O you who believe, take care of your souls. He who errs cannot hurt you when you are on the right way. And people wonder, does that mean just focus on yourself and ignore everyone else?
Right. So what was the clarification?
Well, the Prophet made it clear that no, it does not mean ignore others. He specifically said, enjoin what is good and forbid what is evil, and be forbearing in whatever afflicts you. So that core responsibility, it stays. You're still meant to guide and try to make things better, even when it's hard.
Okay, crucial clarification. But then there's a condition, isn't there? A specific time when you should step back and just focus on yourself. This feels like a key piece of wisdom.
It really is a real aha moment, like you said. The Prophet gave a very precise condition for when you should strategically withdraw. He said, basically, until you see meanness obeyed and passions followed, and when everyone will have conceit about their own opinion, then you should concern yourself only with yourself and ignore the affairs of the common people.
Okay, let's unpack that. Meanness obeyed, passions followed, conceit about their own opinion. What does that look like in practice?
Well, think about situations where unethical behavior is normal, even rewarded, where people are just driven by selfish desires, groupthink is rampant, that's meanness obeyed, passions followed, and conceit about their own opinion. That's when people are just dug in, unwilling to listen, full of ego, no humility, like talking to a brick wall. In that kind of toxic environment, the Prophet is saying your efforts might be futile. Worse, they might be counterproductive.
So it's not giving up forever, but recognizing when the soil isn't fertile.
Exactly. It's practical wisdom. A strategic withdrawal to preserve your energy and integrity. Don't waste it fighting an unwinnable battle right then. Wait for a more receptive time.
That's incredibly insightful. It gives permission almost to not constantly be on, fighting every battle, especially when faced with overwhelming negativity. Protecting your own state becomes important. So it's not always intervene, not always step back. It's about reading the room, reading the moment, discernment.
Precisely. True influence isn't just the message. It's the messenger's readiness, the audience's readiness, timing. Without that alignment, even the best intentions can just fizzle out. It takes patience, understanding people.
Okay, so let's say we've done the inner work or we're committed to it, and we've developed that discernment, we know when to engage. Then what kind of person are we supposed to be? What qualities does the lantern of the path say a true guide needs? Because it's more than just meaning well, right?
Oh, way more. Yeah, this part gives a really detailed blueprint. It's about who you are and how you engage. Foundational qualities. First, obviously, you need to be knowledgeable about what's right and wrong. Can't guide if you don't know the path, but it's deep understanding, not just surface knowledge.
Okay, knowledge. Makes sense.
Second, you must be free from your own personal desires in what you command. Your advice can't be about your ego or control or what you want. It has to be genuinely for the other person's good.
Right. Pure intention, no hidden agenda.
Third, be a good counselor. Show mercy and compassion. Approach people with real care, empathy, understanding, not judgment.
Gentleness seems key too.
Absolutely. Fourth, call people with gentleness and clarity. No harshness, no aggression. Make it easy to understand. Avoid confusion.
These first few knowledge, no self-interest, compassion, gentleness, clarity, they feel interconnected. Like knowledge without compassion is just harsh, right?
Yeah. Exactly. They work together. Think of a good doctor needs the knowledge, but also the bedside manner, the compassion, the clear explanation, and their personal feelings shouldn't dictate treatment. It's holistic.
Makes total sense. Delivery matters. What else? You mentioned something about understanding individuals.
Yes, that's crucial. A true guide recognizes the different characters of people and approaches each one appropriately. No one-size-fits-all lecture. It demands real insight, empathy, tailoring the approach.
That requires a lot of awareness.
It does. And tied to that, they must be able to see the intrigues of their own self and the tricks of Satan. Back to self-awareness again. Knowing your own weak spots, biases, internal stuff, even while guiding. It's that constant internal check-in.
Wow. Okay, what else is on this demanding list?
Patience. They must be patient with any hardship that comes. This work, it's often tough, thankless. Resilience is vital. And they should not seek payment or complain about the people they're guiding. Again, purity of intention. It's about the act, not the reward or the burden.
So humility and focus on the purpose.
Right. Their intention must be purely for Allah, seeking His help. Motivation has to be selfless, rooted higher. They must not act out of anger for their own sake. Personal ego, getting offended, that can't be the driver. If people push back, are harsh, be patient. If they accept your words, be thankful. And always, always entrust the outcome to Allah.
And that last bit you mentioned earlier.
Yes, and critically, continue to look at their own faults. Always.
That one really lands. Continuing to look at their own faults, even when you're successful. It implies it's never finished. It's a journey. How does that stop someone from getting, spiritually arrogant?
It's the ultimate protection against it. By constantly checking yourself, staying aware of your own imperfections, you remain humble. You realize any success isn't just you, it comes from somewhere higher, and your own growth is never, ever done. It keeps the guidance pure, stops it from being tainted by ego or feeling superior. Basically, that deep dive into self-mastery, it never stops. It reinforces all the other qualities.
What a perspective. This whole deep dive into enjoining good and forbidding evil, it's so much more than simple advice, isn't it? It's a whole framework for genuine, impactful guidance, starting with that profound call to look inward first. Master yourself. It forces us to check our motives, understand the conditions for real change, and cultivate virtues that go way beyond just telling people what to do. It's about character.
Absolutely. And if you zoom out, these principles aren't just for formal religious guidance. They apply anywhere you lead, mentor, or influence in your family, your community, at work, even just how you relate to yourself. The message is so clear. Real influence flows from integrity, from humility, from really understanding yourself and the people you want to help. Your credibility isn't just your knowledge, it's who you are inside, your conduct.
It really is about being the change, not just talking about it. Building that solid foundation inside yourself so your words actually carry weight make a real difference. Well, what an incredible exploration. The nuances of guidance, self-mastery, true leadership. It's amazing how timeless this wisdom from Imam Ja'far al-Sadiq feels. It really makes you ask, are we truly ready to help, or is there more work to do in our own inner garden first?
Definitely highlights that the strongest guidance often starts with the most consistent self-reflection, ongoing transformation.
So, for you listening, here's something to think about. After hearing all these requirements, the self-mastery, the discernment, those noble qualities, what single quality from this deep dive do you think is the most challenging, maybe the most important to cultivate in yourself before you try to guide or lead others? Something to ponder until our next deep dive.